Hello to all good people of the world. This is Paul Whittakin returning to you with the Universal Law of Numbers, Periodic Table of Mathematics. And what I'm going to do today is try and clarify and explain what I mean when I say I have a universal theory or the theory of the universe. Well, my theory of the universe is a little bit different than anybody else's theory of anything, really, because we have Einstein's theory of relativity, theory of evolution, etc., 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 and they are attempts by mortal men to describe the universe, and it's all well and good, and I also adopt those theories. I mean, I believe in them, but I just view them as approximations and attempts by men to describe the universe to us. Now, my theory is sort of coming from a different angle. What I'm saying is the universe tells us what it is and not the other way around. And we can choose to accept that or not. We can choose to try and understand it or not. But to me, I would rather get my information from the source than, try and create my own interpretation of it. Now, of course, some of the things that I'm saying, for instance, these things like the square root of 2 or pi or phi, etc., these sequences that go on forever, I'm believing that the reason that they go on forever is not because they are irrational. It's just that they are continuing together with the expansion of the universe so that they can measure what it is that they're measuring as they're both expanding. The measuring stick expands at the same time as the universe expands. So what I say is the universal law of numbers is the father of mathematics. It's the father of all laws of mathematics. What I also say is the universal law of numbers is the mother of all nature. And it is the mother of laws of all nature. And in effect, it is also Mother Nature itself. So the reason that any of these theories can possibly make any sense whatsoever at all is because of the universal law of numbers. They're using the same numbers I'm using, and this is the reason why all of these things can be understood in a logical fashion. And this was not God making a mistake that day. And I just try and point that out too. Okay, so what I say is the universal law of numbers, it represents the whole, and it also represents the individual parts. So this is a representation of the whole, and it's also a representation of the individual parts. And inside of the individual parts and inside of the whole are the universal codes. And these universal codes are given to us by the universe. They're the only universal codes we have, and it describes from the universe, from the source, what exactly it is, and we can learn a great deal from it. So what I will do first is I will just cover this thing here. What I'm going to talk about today a little bit more in depth is the calculator. And the calculator is incapable or inadequate in describing the relationship with numbers entirely, because it's something that's devised by man and it's not devised by the universe. And I've pointed that out before. The only real calculator that we have is this one right here, and it has no inadequacies, and it will always give you the perfect, correct answer every single time. So when I did this, I encountered the problem, the inadequacy of the calculator, when I reached this point here, because when I squared that number 111,111,111, it didn't give me the sequence that it was following, because it gave it to me in an exponential form, and it was already starting to make the approximations. So that's why I'd like to point that out. And I will just look quickly here through my things, and I will start this presentation. Just bear with me momentarily. I will have what I'm looking for. So basically we have this thing, it's called the square root of 2. And the square root of 2 is also a law of mathematics. It's the Pythagorean theorem, but I think it's not a theorem at all. I think, in my mind, it is a law. And what happens is when we start to try and, well, what is it exactly? It's the length of the hypotenuse of a right triangle with legs of the length of 1. Okay, so when I do it, when I take the square root of 2, calculate that on my calculator, on this particular calculator, it goes to that degree of specificity. Your calculator may do better than mine, or worse. I'm just using my phone. But when the result I get when I take the square root of 2 is 1.414213562237. And if I square that number, my calculator gives me 1.99999999999. But the universe says that if I square the square root of 2, then I should receive 2. And I take the universe's word for it. In that case, it's just another example of the universe telling us what it is and not man or man's creations. No device of man could possibly equal the power of the universe. Now, one thing I want to do with you today is I want to point something else out. So I'm saying that what I'm theorizing are my theories, but what the law of nature and the law of mathematics tells me is what the universe tells us. And if we want to understand the universe, then we need to listen to the universe and observe what it tells us and not the other way around. And to illustrate that, I'm going to say that if I put this on its side like this, I will still get the codes and it won't change anything. And if I turn it upside down like this, I will still have the codes and it won't change anything. And if I put it on this side, we will still have the universal codes and it won't change anything. And that, in fact, I was not turning it upside down or turning it on its side whatsoever at all, because it's representing a spherical structure, because the thing is revolving, it's rotating around in this sequence. And that, in fact, the universe, at its whim, can turn us upside down, can turn us inside out, can turn us in such a way that we don't know what forwards or backwards is, and can even take us away at any given moment. So I respect the power of the universe over, and the wisdom of the universe, and every manifestation that the universe gives us over what, man provides us. Now, I will just kind of cover something else briefly, and I'm not bashing anybody's theories or anything of the like, but I'm just pointing out, okay, so here we have the speed of light, and it can be measured different ways to different specificities using different measuring sticks, whether it's miles, kilometers, meters per second, whatever. But it may be that we don't really understand the speed of light entirely because it cannot be an approximation. Okay? But certainly knowing what we do know about it, it's a very helpful tool to, in its application in mathematics and science and physics and chemistry, etc. Now we also have this thing that's called time, and time has been measured by the atomic clock, and it gives us this value, and it's measured as a frequency in hertz, and it's 9, 10, 19, 21, 27, 30, 31, 38, and 7 is 45, and that reduces to a 9, and I think that's a very good, accurate description of it. But people of the world, do we really understand what time is? Okay, so we probably don't. At this stage of our evolution, it's something that escapes us. And these are just mortal men trying to provide us with some scientific values for things that are really beyond comprehension on the scale of the universe. So what I did today was I just did a very simple exercise that I try and point out. For instance, if we take the universal law of numbers, the universal codes, the periodic table, and we, put a radical sign on top of any of the numbers, it's not going to change a thing. And the computer really, or the calculator really isn't capable of doing all of these calculations, but we don't need it because we know that if we take the seventh root of 9 and we multiply that by, 9 squared, it's going to come back exactly what it was. And no matter what we do with these universal codes, it never changes a thing. We're still going to have the numbers 149, 779, 419, followed by 189s and the 179, 159, etc. And when it gets to the eighth power, then it will revert back to where it was and begin the sequence all over again. And if we want to look at it in terms of negative numbers, that doesn't change anything either, because we're still going to have the values 149, 779, 419. The universe doesn't care at all about negative or positive in that respect. It can calculate any number going in the negative direction to infinity, and it can calculate any number going in the positive direction to infinity, and it will always come back and it will repeat the sequence of the codes that are in the universal law of numbers. And if we use fractions and we put the number as denominators, that's not going to change a thing either, because the values are always going to be the numbers 149, 779, 419, followed by the rest of the sequence, and it will start again over once we hit, x to the 7th and go to x to the 8th. It will be what it was when we just squared the number. And if we put excuse me, that's me. You're getting to know me better now. That's nice. Okay. Which does bring up a point. Now, so I'm this mortal person and I'm giving this theory of the universe. In reality, people of the world, I'm not really theorizing. Well, I'm theorizing about a couple of things, but what I'm truly trying to demonstrate and truly trying to illustrate is that it's what the universe gives us and not the other way around. Anyway, I put a decimal point there, I put a 0 there, I follow it with an infinite number of zeros, then I stick the 1 on, then I stick the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 on. It's not going to change a thing. The values are going to always be 149, 779, 419, and they will continue on to infinity. And if I do it the other way and I put the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, and then I follow that with zeros to infinity, or put the zeros on and continue on in a sequence to infinity before I finally put the decimal point, it doesn't change the numbers or the code or the sequences in the least. We're still going to receive the results 149, 779, 419, followed by the 189s, followed by the 179, 449, 719, etc., until we get to x to the 7th, and then it will repeat the sequence again, and we will have the universal codes. And these universal codes are the only universal codes that we have in our universe. They're unique. Not only is the universal law of numbers, periodic table of mathematics, the only unique number that gives us this information, but inside of the universal periodic table of mathematics, the codes are unique as well. And as a matter of fact, on another level, I'm understanding now that even the codes themselves follow the codes. And I've done some pretty different kind of exploration and calculations on my own, and I'm not really willing to share them yet, because as a matter of principle, what I want to do is express to the world the simplicity of the universal law of numbers, and not, get messed up and puzzled about all of the intricacies of it. But I can assure you that it has very profound meaning and applications that are beyond these simple arithmetic exercises that I'm doing with you today. And so I'm just going to remind people what the codes are. These are the universal codes. They are the only universal codes, and they belong to the only universal law of numbers periodic table of mathematics that we have, which comprises all of the numbers that we have in our universe, which makes it unique and which makes it the universe itself. That's the point I'm making. And this is also a representation of Mother Nature and all aspects of life that come with it. So I hope I shared something useful with you today. I hope I provided a little bit of insight. And my name is Paul Whittekin, and I'm coming to you from sunny Arizona, which is in the universe, and I'm representing the University of the Universe. And the University of the Universe is accepting students, and there's no application process involved whatsoever. Those are all people university laws. And the University of the Universe is the only university that doesn't, take its cues from the people. It takes its cues from itself, and I very strongly emphasize people to take their cues from the university from the universe over the cues from people in the universe, because the universal law of numbers and the universal codes, they don't lie. Only people lie. The universal law of numbers does not deceive. Only people deceive, and it enlightens us and awakens us to the truth of the universe. So I'm going to leave you with that today, and I hope to see you again soon. And until then, I'm signing out. My name is Paul Whittekin, and I'm wishing peace and happiness to all people in the world.